Welcome back to my tweet series, and Earth to Gazelle says, my boundaries have gotten so strong that life is quiet and peaceful now. Still annoyed, but at least I'm annoyed walking away instead of staying. So when it comes to thriving and healing beyond narcissistic abuse, I think that this is something that we often overlook. How you'll still be annoyed, you'll still see red flags, but at least you have the peace of walking away and not getting sucked back into the dysfunction anymore. And that's the subtle key, is being annoyed but choosing to walk away and protect your peace. If you're the family scapegoat, then you know all too well that every other day chaotic drama and dysfunction that they want to drag you in, or that they want to inflict on you and then walk away with no remorse, and then ignore you and use tactics to manipulate you and gaslight you to make you the problem for your reaction. When you decide and when you're in the place where you are healing and thriving beyond the abuse, there comes a point where you have to ask yourself, okay, how am I going to thrive while also still seeing these red flags in family or just in the world with other people who exhibit narcissistical traits, while also still protecting my peace, protecting what I've built, protecting your healing? And I think that this is a distinction that we have to make, is that we're no longer getting sucked back in, I hope, or at least I'm trying. But that doesn't mean that every day when you're around the narcs you get annoyed by them. When you're choosing to stay silent, when you're choosing to not engage with them anymore, that doesn't mean that you won't also get annoyed with them. And this is important to remember because it will make you feel like, if I'm truly healing, if I'm truly over it or over this dynamic, then why am I still annoyed by it? Why do I still feel these feelings of frustration or maybe anger, seeing them just walk around in their illusion and treating you and anyone how they please? By the way, this is Aisha, and here we thrive beyond the abuse. We're done focusing on the narcs. They're literally textbook definition. Here we're actually going to learn how to actually thrive. Actually. Okay, let me stop. But here we're going to learn how to actually thrive beyond the narcissistic abuse and heal beyond it. So, yeah. And you know how many times I roll my eyes or in my head I'm like, wow, like you're actually, like, you're so done. Like, because they're just, like, so funny once you just learn to observe and not absorb it anymore. And half the times I don't even say anything anymore because they decide to be that every day. They decide to be stunted emotionally and in every way, relationally or interpersonally. They decide to live in their illusion of reality, which isn't reality. It's just their fragile ego just can't handle the actual truth. So when you're thriving and healing beyond the abuse, especially in the early stages, it's so important that you don't re-traumatize yourself by engaging with them. That you give yourself enough space to heal from the damage that they've caused emotionally based off the neglect or the silence or the control, manipulation, gaslighting. This tweet that she made is as a survivor on the other side of it. And so when you're initially in the stages of healing, it can be hard to see that because it stirs up emotions in you. When I see them continuing to wrong people, continuing to wrong me, it's like you, or at least I feel a need to defend myself, defend the truth, defend and exhibit justice for what they do. But she makes a valid point that you will reach a point where you're no longer triggered by them, you're no longer absorbing or internalizing their narratives anymore, but you will still be annoyed. And your peace, your healing that you've worked so hard to do without their apology, without their validation, without their remorse, makes you so powerful and makes you on a whole different timeline and energetical place than them. Not even energetical, but emotional maturity wise. And they're kind of like anchors where if you try to save them, if you try to pull the rope by indulging once or engaging once, they will just constantly use any chance of that to pull you down to the bottom again. And you don't want to go back down there because you know the pain that you felt when you were trying to heal from them and you were trying to have healthy reconciliation with them, and they just continue to just try to pull you down because they need to exert control or they need to feel safe in themselves, but they can't do that and meet you in a healthy way. It's super imbalanced all the time. So that's why it's important to not grab the rope, to not try to correct them, to not try to show them a different way or a different perspective, to not add your little thoughts, which is hard, at least for me, because it's like, hey, you're actually dead wrong. But you just have to brush it up to just being annoyed and moving on. Rolling your eyes and just being like, oh, well. Internally in your head saying, yeah, that's weird, and moving on with what you do, focusing your energy back on yourself. And that's how you slowly but surely get out of the reins of the narcissistical cycle and dynamic, especially if you're a scapegoat. You have to do this times 10 with this person, all working in a system that's just chaotic and dysfunctional, and it is not grounded in the truth or reality or treating each other fairly. And you have to remember that narcissists just lack consideration, they lack self-reflection, they lack the effort to change and grow. Like, for example, for me, one thing that I'm just annoyed about is one of the narcs in my life just constantly banging and making loud noises in the kitchen. And it's not even just annoying, it's like overload sensory, like they just clank, 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 and it's just, I just flinch every time because it's just so frequent and so loud. And I'm just like, I gotta get out of here, do what I need to do, and get out of here quick, instead of sitting there and saying, hey, can you be a little bit more quiet? Like, there's people around, you know? Because even if you do stop and try to shift your energy towards them, they will be maybe sit there and be like, oh, okay, and then they'll just go back to doing what they want to do and not even having that consideration further along. So for one, it's not worth it, and for two, it is a slippery slope to you getting into more altercation where they deflect and they just can't have the spotlight on them to grow or to have feedback, and it'll just drag you into an argument. It'll drag them to use all the techniques that they use to manipulate you, to gaslight you, and to make you leave now needing to heal from another interaction with them. All because you wanted a simple request, all because you wanted them to hear and to adapt and to take feedback and grow from it. Even then, they would still rather you sit there and just either beg really, for them to stop so that they can just keep feeling the power without ever changing what they're doing. Or we all know that they would be perfectly content just going on with their lives, while things affect you either sensory or just physically, emotionally, and they're not going to care about it. And both things are very traumatizing for you as a scapegoat. And both things are you grabbing onto that rope and being pulled down by the anchor. And so how do you heal and thrive beyond the abuse? I don't know if I said, but this is Aisha. We heal beyond the abuse. We're done focusing on them and their textbook patterns that they do over and over again. How do we actually thrive beyond it? How do we get to the point where we're just annoyed by it and we move on, instead of getting so absorbing it and internalizing it and ruminating over it? And that's just the sad reality of the fact, is that you have to accept that we will get to the point where you will be just annoyed, or hopefully that's it. But you'll reach the point where you'll be annoyed, but not enough for you to compromise or try to overextend or overfunction, while they use that to pull you further back down and disrupt all your healing that you've done, or re-traumatize you, or re-trigger old wounds, especially being the scapegoat, where it's just prolonged, constant, every day something different, someone else just being their dysfunctional, emotionally immature self. So save yourself, and I hope you get to this point. Thank you for listening. Bye.